Hi there boys and girls, and welcome back to the channel. Got 3 games for you from some of the content contributors to the channel for this video, and all 3 games are really interesting because there are aspects of gameplay in there where you go, did they do the right thing, did they do the wrong thing? Either the red team make mistakes, green team make mistakes. So some interesting sort of topics of conversation, if you like, in each game. And here we have Dougaltown. He's on Fort Despair in the Progetto 46. Now, what becomes quite obvious pretty quickly, he's done the right thing. He's dashed into a base and got a cap on pretty quickly. Now, he's unspotted at this point, and the entire red team have gone down one flank, which is always a risky manoeuvre, especially in a supremacy game. Now, Dougal's capped one base, and he's going to quickly try and cap the other. So, I mean, potentially should he have gone round and maybe got the flank on before capping the A cap, because obviously his team are a tank down there. Personally, I would say if you've got an easy available cap and they've completely left one flank uncontested, then take it. Hopefully the rest of your team will be wise enough to see what you're doing, and will know that they need to basically hold and not push, because they know that you should be coming round flanking and that they've got supremacy points in the bag. Unfortunately, the green team either don't do that or are just basically facing better players, but what becomes quite apparent very quickly is that these guys are very overmatched at the C cap. So did Dougal do the right thing by capping the 2 bases? I would say yes, personally, but these guys are up against it, and they're very quickly tanks down. Now, at the end of the day, there's no way in hell for Dougal to know how effective his team are going to be, and the right strategy is the one that you pick if you happen to win the game. In those sort of 50-50 calls like this. It's a supremacy game. To not cap bases or to only contest one flank is always going to be a risky move, basically. So to my mind, I think Dougal's done exactly the right thing here, but you know, the green team did go tanks down quite quickly. Now the game has evened up, but then very quickly it becomes uneven again, and Dougal is facing a 3-on-1 here. Now, he does have the benefit of the 2 caps, and he also has the benefit that he's driving a fast tank, so he can potentially get to the other end of the map. Now, he's got a clear on here, which he takes. However, he's now taken a huge hit from the SU over there, and this has effectively reduced him down to a 1-shot. So it really is touch and go here. The supremacy points really are racking up, and here is basically the moment of the game. Bang, SU misses his shot. This is going to allow the cap points to basically win the game, and for Dougal to actually get the clear on. So you can argue, debate whether Dougal did the right thing there. I personally think he did. And ultimately his strategy won the game. He was the kill leader and damage leader, so quite frankly, yeah, I think he was probably let down a little bit by his team, and Dougal's actions there brought home the win, but an interesting topic of conversation nonetheless. Okay, here we are with Frost 136 in the Tiger 2 on Middleburg. Now again, this all the way through this game I was watching this game, and okay, it's 3-on-3 in heavies, so heavies are obviously going to go through the town route, and neither team caps the base. Neither team. I mean, you know, on this map, the heavies on the other team can cap one of the bases, you can cap the other, and quite often it depends on what the meds are getting up to on C as to how supremacy points go. Some people like, if you've got a light enough setup, like everybody who go up to C and then snipe down into town, or crash down as a 7 and overwhelm the team in town. That's a strategy that gets used in tournament play a lot. But neither team has capped A or B. Now the red team have capped C, so if they'd have already dashed into, which I think for them at this spawn, I can't remember which is the available base. I think it's for the red spawn, I think is A. They'd already be two bases up, and the Greens would really be up against it here, but they haven't done so. However, the Green team haven't capped the opposing base either, so I think everybody's forgotten that it's a supremacy game. But nonetheless, we're going to have a bit of a fight out in town. Now, Frost has got a bit of a dilemma here. His buddy here has set up his side scrape correctly. Can't fault the guy for doing that, but it does limit Frost's ability to set up his own effective side scrape. So he does take a risk, takes a shot in the side there, so he can get to this side and set up his side scrape and basically put the Tiger 2's armour to very good use. And that is going to help. He's going to take a few bounces by doing exactly that. He's facing a Tiger 2 as well, so he's having to use the APCR to get the pen on. But they are doing the job of holding in town. They are supremacy points down, and they are and it's pretty even with regard to numbers at this point. Now, one of the Green team has decided to potentially try and cap, but then doesn't. So the Green team go another tank down, and I mean, all the way through watching this game, I was like, the Green team would really have had difficulty containing this if Red had capped two bases. But everybody just seems to have forgotten it was a supremacy game. However, Frost has basically taken care of his tank, taken care of his own hit point pool. Now the guys seem to be getting with the program a little bit, so somebody's dashed into A. Frost is going to head over towards the other base at B, and they're actually a tank up at this point. So yeah, maybe it wasn't necessary. It just, there's no way to predict what's going to happen in the game from the spawn. There really isn't. So it seems daft to me that if you have an available base, you don't cap it. But it's increasingly something that people seem to almost have as an afterthought. Maybe I go on about it too much. Let me know what you think in the comments. I don't know. I certainly know that one of the most disappointing ways to lose a game is on cap points when your tank's up and you potentially were going to win the game and the other team have capped and you haven't. And that is a really disappointing way to lose a game. So, however, Frost has done a good job here. We're actually removing the red cap on C now. He's looked after his tank. His fella here is completely tracked and can't do anything, so they're going to get these guys cleared. There's a one-shot tank around the corner here, and this is going to be a fairly convincing win for Green. And Frost has done an excellent job. He had a difficult situation at the beginning there, but once he was able to angle his tank correctly and effectively, he did so, and he's managed to rack up the damage, and he's bounced down looks like just over 1600 and did just under 3000 damage there, racking up 2 kills and getting a first class mastery. So an excellent game, well played indeed, young man. Okay, here we are with Lewis Ilikoski driving the T28 Defender on Faust. Not a supremacy game this time, so you'll be very pleased with that, boys and girls. Uncle Vimes will not be going on about capping bases again. However, again, this was a very interesting game. I'm certainly not going to sit here and criticise other players for the decisions they make, simply because I'm not an expert at the game. I really am not. However, we're all sort of armchair referees when we watch the football, and we say, oh, I wouldn't have done that, I would have done this. And there are a couple of interesting aspects to this game. There's no doubt about it. Lewis plays an excellent game. He does put up some excellent damage numbers here. Now, the T28, yeah, it's an armoured monster that's got a monstrously huge gun, but is very, very slow, got a slow hull traverse, and hasn't got great dispersion. So these are all things that you have to live with if you drive the tank. But it does whack out, you know, a good 400-500 alpha per shot. So in that regard, can be very dangerous, and Faust is always going to be a difficult map for this tank to play on, because there is no natural spot for this tank to just sit and farm damage. You're going to have to get involved at some point, and when the tank and the traverse are this slow, that is potentially going to cause problems, especially if you get flanked by a med. However, Lewis has already managed to get in 1 shot's worth of damage. He's now pushing towards the bulk of the enemy heavies here, and it's going pretty well for the green team at this point. There were 2 tanks up, they're now only the 1 tank up. Lewis manages to whack in another shot there, and this is where things, yeah, there are almost sort of things that you can look at from both of these players. Lewis is going to take on this VK100, which basically is a super heavy. It's an armoured monster. It is difficult to pen, even for a gun like the T28 Defender. Now, whilst I was watching this, I just assumed, and I didn't think Lewis had any APCR in his magazine. As it transpires, he does. Now, yes, with AP, he's only got that hatch. So if Mr. VK100 there keeps moving and doesn't show his lower plate, Lewis is going to have a lot of difficulty penning him. And as you can see, VK is doing his best elephant impression there, waving the gun around, trying to protect that hatch. Which is a tactic you see a lot. It always looks weird when you see it, but it's something that VK100 drivers tend to do. Now, VK100, he's about to make what I regard as a mistake, and he's going to push on Lewis here, which he had absolutely no need to do. He was showing him his turret. It was very difficult for Lewis to get the pen on, and now Lewis is able to start rolling back and sticking rounds into his lower plate, which he does. He sticks 2 in quick succession there. Now, the VK100 is trying to angle in towards the wall to prevent Lewis from doing that. Lewis still hasn't whacked in the APCR at this point, and at this point you're going to see him really struggle to get the VK100 cleared. He does manage to get one in the side there, because the tank does get slightly over angled. However, he bounces this one, and the situation is looking dire for the green team. They are 2 tanks down, so Lewis really does need to get this guy cleared. And to my mind, it would have been better to either simply roll back and try and stick one into the lower plate again, instead of face hugging the guy, or to load the APCR and see what options that would have given him. Potentially, I think it took just a little bit too long to clear this guy. However, clear him he does, and we're now ready to move on, but he is now facing a 3-on-1. Can't get anything through the turret there, so Lewis does in fact whack in the APCR at this point and get the clear, which I must admit did surprise me, because I thought that was potentially an option he would have used to clear the VK100. Certainly not criticising Lewis's gameplay or his decisions. He's playing an excellent game. However, I just think it did take a little bit long to clear the VK100 there, and that has potentially affected the outcome of the game. Now we've got another 1-shot tank here, so Lewis doing exactly the right thing. He's going to roll down here and try and get him cleared, and make this a 1-on-1 situation. So it's down to Lewis now and the enemy KV4. He's had an excellent game so far. He's bounced 2300's worth of damage. He's done just over 3200. As you can see, there's only about a minute and a half left on the clock here. Getting plenty of advice from his already dead teammates on how he should proceed. That's I always find that quite hilarious. He's obviously playing a good game. He's still alive and racking up the damage and the kills, and everybody else who's dead is giving him advice, but c'est la vie, happens all the time. So Lewis decided he's not going to let this run out. He's going to take KV4 on here, gets a nice roll in there. The KV4 does have good penetration values. Now Lewis isn't going to struggle to get into his lower plate there, but this is now literally going to come down to if you can draw a bounce and who can reload. And the KV4 did start with a slightly higher hit point pool, and effectively this is going to come down to the very last shot, and Lewis unfortunately comes off second best there after a fantastic individual performance. The only reason I mentioned the fight with the VK100 earlier was potentially, you know, one of those bounce shells going in would have given him the upper hand there, but that is 2020 hindsight. But a first-class mastery through kills and just under 4,500 damage, an exceptional game all round. I'd like to thank all three contributors for their videos this week, and I'd like to thank you for watching, and as always, good hunting and bye for now.